At the last recording, we started wrapping up on our conversations on professionalism. We had gone through my working definition approach on how do you define what professionalism is, and that is by looking at the Nigerian courses: law, medicine, accounting, and engineering. So that's one of my standards for determining what professionalism is. That basically we just look at what it is that you mean when a Nigerian parent says study a professional course, and then see what we can glean from those courses, and then basically take those standards, apply them, and see how they relate to those of us in the wedding sphere. So we had just finished running through that exercise, and I wanted to open you guys up to the idea that traditional sales practice has a couple of things to say about what it means to be professional, and that is what we started looking into yesterday. And we had examined. I can't remember which two we looked at yesterday, but anyway, I'm going to look at two more today. We'll wrap it up tomorrow so that we can move on to communication, because I think we've spent quite a bit on professionalism so far. I wouldn't be surprised if we've done up to maybe 10 episodes on just professionalism alone. So, today, the two other things that I want to look into that the two other things that I want to look into that when traditional sales folks say be professional, what does that mean? The two other things I'm going to look into today are ideas around making your presentation and when you interact with your clients. Now, there is this idea in the traditional sales that you have to determine your client's needs before you prescribe a course of action or a solution. In fact, in America, it's a popular saying where they say, I can't remember, something like prescription before diagnosis is malpractice. Yes, so that's something that American salesmen will say a lot. Prescription before diagnosis is malpractice. So, you're a wedding photographer, or you're a wedding planner, or you sell insurance, or you bake cakes. It is malpractice for you to just tell the bride, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to make a 6-tiered cake made of white chocolate with, raspberry trimmings or whatever it is you cake people do. That's malpractice. You first of all have to listen to her and determine her needs before you just prescribe a course of action. Why are you going on about 5 tiers if for her a single tier, 12-inch or 24-inch. Sorry, I don't know anything about your sizes. So there's no point in going on about 3 tiers, 4 tiers, and 5 tiers if really what they want is a single tier 24-inch cake made of dark chocolate. So it doesn't matter if white chocolate is now the rave, and that is what all sophisticated people are doing. The best you can do is to listen to her, make your own recommendations. That, okay, you say you want one tier, but the thing is, if you have a one-tiered cake, but you have a wedding party of 1,200 people, that one tier is not going to be enough. Let's make a 5-tiered cake. That's my own professional recommendations. If at the end of the day she doesn't want to go with that advice, the best thing you can do is either to make the cake that she wants, or maybe refer her to someone else who will. Because there's some of us who do have some professional standards that there's some things we will not do. While I was based in Lagos, there's a friend of mine, Alexia. She's been doing makeup since back when we were in law school. So she's been at this game clearly for well over 10 years, maybe more like 15 years. But she decided quite early what she wanted to do. So even while we were in law school, she was already on the makeup hustle. A couple of us finished law school, and I worked in the civil service and then in a law firm for a bit before deciding on becoming a wedding photographer. So, she's one of those folks who decided quite early, and so she just moved. So I think her line is Makeup by Alexia Horsfall or something like that. And she has her signature line of brushes and powders and, all that fancy stuff that you do. Now, back while we were in Lagos, there was a time when there was this brief trend, I think, because the trend didn't really take off. Where some brides were trying out this gothic look, or close to gothic look as possible, where the lipstick would not be red or brown or transparent or what the usual colors are, but instead they were going for this darker kind of feel, almost black. Now, some commentators at the time were saying that we shouldn't try to copy this goth look coming from America. It doesn't work. And some people are pointing out that no, this is not really a goth thing. It's almost kind of like a traditional thing, because there are some societies in Nigeria, let's say like among the Fulani, for instance, where the nuptial makeup, the makeup on your wedding day, would be closer towards some kind of darker color, whether it was a brown or a tan or a black. Anyway, the bottom line is, regardless of what was going on at the time, Alexia was one of those who was of the opinion that if a bride came to her and said, "Give me black lipstick," she would say, "No, I'm not going to do that." And it's something that I had a laugh with her over. So I was like, if a bride says, "Give me black lipstick," is this something you can do? And she was like, "Yeah, it can be done. But will you do it?" And she said, "No, even if she pays you X amount." And Alexia said, "No." And my question was, why? And she said, "Because I don't want my work to be associated with that." So, have the session, diagnose, find out what you guys are aiming at. And so don't just make any prescriptions. Don't just say that lavender pink lipstick is all the rage now, so let's go with that. You ask the bride, what are you aiming for? What's the theme? What's the overall color palette for the day? Your final dress at night? What's it going to be? What's your ideal vision for the wedding? Whatever questions that you makeup artists normally ask when you're having your sessions. So you ask all these questions first, and then after that you make your prescription, or you make your presentation. That let's do this. Let us do orange matted lipstick with lip gloss and waterproof foundation, or whatever it is that you guys talk about when you're having your sessions. So, determine your client's needs, basically. You sit down, find out what they need, and it's only after that you prescribe a course of action. So if you meet traditional, old sales school folks, they would find it appalling and they will call it malpractice if before the client got there you had already decided on the course of action. So as a wedding planner, it's the same. You can't decide that right now West African chiffon or Egyptian cotton is all the rage, and so therefore all the table linen is going to be Egyptian cotton, or that you're going to use Christmas lights, or that you won't use Christmas lights, or that golden chandeliers are now the rage, and so that is what you're going to insist on. So when the bride and her mom come up for the meeting as a wedding decor person or as a planner, sorry that I'm using both terms interchangeably. I know that there are some wedding planners who absolutely hate being referred to as decor people, but unfortunately in Abuja there are a number of you who make who do both. Wedding planners who also handle their own decor. So that's why I'm using interchangeably. But I do know that there's a difference, and so sorry if there's anyone there that I'm offending at the podcast. I don't. That's not what I mean to do. It's just that some of your colleagues do practice both of them. They offer both services under the same shop. Okay, so back to my scenario. So the bride comes and her mom comes. You sit them down. You say, "Good afternoon, ma. Hello, Mrs. Bride. So what's the plan? Let me know what's happening. Okay, what date? What venue? What do you guys have in mind? What's the ashwebi? What's the gele? What's the whatever?" Those are the questions that you're going to ask that will now determine color palettes, seating arrangements, and what have you. But anyway, I'm sure that you guys know much better than I do. But the bottom line is, to be a professional salesperson, you have to ask the questions, find out what it is that they need. After that, you now prescribe a course of action. If you do that before they get there, you are being unprofessional, and in some cases it ruins your chance to close the sale. Because if they come there and you just lay it all out that this is what is raining now, let's do this. But they think of themselves as much more sophisticated couples who want to chart their own path, and they have a highly unique and stylized sense of, highly unique and individual aesthetic. Then they'll be turned off. They'll be like, this babe just wants us to do everything that couple so and so did in Ovation, and that is raining on Bella Niger. She's not our person, and then they just walk out the door. So determine needs first, so that you can be a true professional. Then the second thing, during this client consultation, whatever it is that you want to call it, I know some wedding planners who call it a client consultation. There's some people who call it the couple interview. Whatever it is that you call it, you need to make it a habit to listen attentively when you're asking these questions, because you ask the questions and you don't just jump on the first answer that you get and run around making recommendations. You have to try to get a sense for what the problem is. So they want the wedding to be sophisticated. What does sophistication mean for them? What are they aiming at? Or let's say they already have this clear idea, but they're having problems adapting it to local circumstances. Maybe, let's say like the beach wedding thing, for instance. That seems to be catching on. So not the beach wedding, the garden wedding. Saw quite a few the year before Corona became a thing. I saw quite a few. So I don't know if that's catching on or not, but bottom line is, let's say that these are the concepts that they want to try. Let's say a barn wedding. Okay, I've seen a barn party, and so the barn had to be constructed. That was here in Abuja. So find out what they're aiming for. Find out what the problems are with trying to apply those concepts, and that's if you're a planner or a decorator. So by listening attentively, you're going to be able to get to the root of what the problem is, and then you know how to prescribe what your solution is going to be. So we also should be conscious about body language, because not all brides and grooms or their parents are verbally expressive. Like for me, for instance, I'll sit there and I'll listen, but I'm going to hold a lot to my chest. If I feel like you're a joker, I'm not going to come out and say you're a joker. I'll just listen and say thank you very much for your time, and I'll leave. That's back when we were planning the wedding, and I was the one who was on the buying end as a groom. But sorry, forgive me for the sniffling. I know that's unprofessional. Really funny that where I'm sniffling on a podcast where we're talking about professionalism. But anyway, I'm taking my meds, and so hopefully my cold will be gone soon. I just wanted to make sure that we put out the episode today as scheduled. So, where was I? Okay, yeah, so not everyone is going to be verbal about what's going on. So I keep things close to my chest and I'll move. And that's the interesting thing, because my mother-in-law is also the same way. My mother-in-law will just listen and say thank you very much and move. But Patience, that's my wife, she's vocal. And my father-in-law is also vocal. So my father-in-law will say, young man, you're being unserious. Calm down. Listen to me first. This is what I'm saying. Blah, 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 blah. So my father-in-law is the kind of person that would say that kind of thing. And if my wife is upset at the consultation, she will let you have it. But not everybody that you're dealing with is like that. So you have to be conscious about reading body language and things of that nature. Like one negotiation we're having with the bride and the mother of the bride, I didn't like the way things were going, so I was just pretty much waiting for my video guy Shegun to show up, and I was just going to walk out because I didn't like what was going on. And Shegun was kind of okay with the numbers, so I just needed him to be okay. To come there, be in the meeting, and then I would just leave and forget the whole photography thing. So the mother of the bride is much more astute, if I can put it that way. And my mom says anyway that I wear my heart on my sleeve. So she noticed, and so the mother of the bride was like, Oga photographer, It's as if you're not happy. And, the moment she said that, for some reason, I don't know, it just tickled my funny bone. I laughed. We all started laughing. It let some of the tension out of the room, and we're able to resume on the pricing thing. And then, of course, Shegun arrived, and he's really good at dealing with older couples, and he does that Yoruba thing very well. So he came in that whole lema, kasoma, that whole thing, and we're able to get the pricing conversation back on track, and we ended up working together. So just bear in mind that you might be dealing with a bride that is like me, or a groom that is like me, and so it's body language, facial expressions, stuff like that. Those are the things that are going to give you cues about whether what you're discussing is hitting the spot, or or you're just yarning or bats. So we also have to be conscious about the environment, and try to limit distractions. So that depends. So if they're meeting you in your office, that might mean turning down the DSTV, or maybe making sure that the air conditioning is not too cold, because some people don't like AC, or that the room is not too hot. We have to pay attention for these stuff. But bottom line, we already do a couple of these things quite well. One thing that the average person doesn't do well is asking questions for feedback and for clarification. So after you've gotten a sense of everything, what they want, and blah 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 blah, when you make the recommendation for Egyptian cotton, you don't just leave it like that and then move on to the next item on the agenda. You ask. Say, okay, so what I'm recommending is Egyptian cotton. It looks like this. It looks like this. It's going to be this color. So, mommy, Kilophil, mommy, what do you think? Madam Bride, is that okay? And it helps to move the conversation on forward, because if the bride and her mom are like, correct, that's very good. You now know that, okay, we're good to go on that. No need to discuss this any further. Let's move on to the next thing. But if the mom says, anyway, whatever Kemi feels, that's what we'll go with. And then Kemi is like, it's okay, but I don't know. With those responses from the bride and from the mom, you know that you have more questions to press in about what is wrong with Egyptian cotton, or maybe you didn't understand the vision. So you ask questions again to try and get the vision that they're aiming for with that decor and stuff like that. So we've gone past the 15-minute mark, so I'll just wrap it up here. So those are two more things that we can look at when we're talking to old school sales professionals, especially our brothers in North America and Western Europe. So when they say you should be a professional in the sales process, that is what they mean. That before you make any presentation, before you say, let us use this marquee, or let us use Egyptian cotton, or let us use matted brown lipstick, you have to ask them questions first, determine their needs. When you thoroughly understand their needs, then you prescribe a course of action. So that is one thing that you do to be professional. The second thing that you do to be professional is to listen attentively. You're asking questions to find out what the problems are. You're looking for opportunities where you can bring your expertise, bring your skills to provide value to the situation. Then you also have to be conscious about body language, because not everybody is going to speak up. You're going to have some people like me sitting on the other end of the table who will just listen and say, okay, thank you very much, I'll be in touch, and then we'll leave, and we'll never call. Try and limit distractions in the environment, and then, most importantly, ask questions to get some feedback and clarification. Because there's no point when you, at that meeting, just making your presentation and everybody stands up and then they say, okay, I'll call you later, and then you never hear from them again. Or you're trying to call them back and you're not sure what, why, or how it is that you are following up. You need to seek clarification and feedback on the spot, so that you know the matters that have been settled and you guys are moving forward, and the matters that are still outstanding. So that's it pretty much for today. Tomorrow I will move on to two more, and that'll be on how traditional sales folk how they advise that we clarify expectations, and then we'll talk some more about follow up, and then we'll wrap it up with professionalism, and then after that we'll move on to communications. So, thank you very much for listening to the podcast, the Sales for the Nigerian Wedding Industry podcast. I'm your host, Abuja based event and wedding photographer Tavishima Ayede. Thank you very much for your time and attention. I will catch you guys on the next recording.